Hi everyone, this is a special review of Bad Batch episode 9 that I did with Sara Edwards and Giovanni Delgadillo. It was so fun and they had me on to their podcast, so make sure to check the link in the description to see the audio version of it. It was so much fun and there will still be a DNA reviews later tonight, so make sure to check that out and I hope you enjoy.
This is the Waycast is a podcast where we recap every Star Wars episode as they are released on Disney+. This is your spoiler alert, and you have been warned. Sakuigar Shinies, welcome to Season 2 of This is the Waycast, the Bad Batch edition. I'm Sara Edwards, the resident Star Wars reporter at Boardwalk Times.
I'm Giovanni Delgadillo, a columnist at the Boardwalk Times.
And today we have a special guest star joining us on the pod.
Hi everyone. Hey, my name's Aalayah. I'm from Put Woodley In on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for a while now, and like every Friday we have DNA with my dad, and we also talk about Star Wars, Bad Batch, and also Loki. And so I'm excited to be on here to talk about it with y'all because y'all know about it a lot more than me. So this is gonna be good.
We're so excited to have you on. Before we get started, this week we are recapping Season 1, Episode 9 of The Bad Batch called Bounty Lost, where the Batch are not only running away from Crosshair, but now they're also trying to track down who took Omega and what happened to her. This episode answered so many questions. I think it was the perfect way to introduce the second half of the season.
For sure. I definitely agree. Because this is Episode 9, and we have 8 more episodes or 7 more episodes left.
We're going until mid-August.
Yeah, that's crazy. So we definitely got more answers. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just excited to see Cad Bane back doing stuff. And obviously, like I predicted, Omega is super resourceful. So she gets out of sticky situations.
I definitely
second half.
I definitely agree. My dad and I would predict that she was something special. Kids, why would they only be going after her? Because the Bad Batch are special in their own way. Why aren't they also going after them? But they're really only after this little girl. So yes, there's definitely something there. But I want to talk about Cad Bane because I don't know this guy. I personally thought he was the guy from episode 4 with the Han shot first guy. And my dad was like, that is not him. So who is he?
He is a bounty hunter from the Clone Wars, and we're actually going to go right into answering all of your questions and breaking down all of the answers that this episode revealed to us right after this ad break. All right, we're back. So now let's start breaking down the episode. So Aalayah, your first question was, who is Cad Bane? Cad Bane is a bounty hunter from Clone Wars. He was very prevalent in the first few seasons. And I think we talked about this last week when he made his appearance, but he kind of just disappeared after a few seasons.
Yeah, what's interesting about his disappearance is if you'll notice, and Aalayah, you won't know this since you don't know Cad Bane, but there's a patch on the top of his head that wasn't there before, which implies previous history. And they had written an ending for Cad Bane where he and Boba Fett were supposed to fight, and supposedly Fett kills Bane. But people are starting to think that maybe if that fight still happened, Bane actually survives, if that's what the patch indicates. So right now that's all speculation. But yeah, Bane is supposed to be this ruthless, super good bounty hunter, and I mean, I'm surprised he's still kicking.
Yeah, so I hope that explains him a little more.
No, that definitely explains it. So he was in a couple seasons of Clone Wars, and then he left and had a fight or something.
Yeah. We'll have to send you the deleted scene. Yeah. But one thing that I also found interesting with this episode is, first of all, Bane kind of got a ship upgrade. He got upgrades. He still has his little droid Toto. Toto is also along with him for the ride in Clone Wars. But we also discovered that him and Fennec are not working for the same goal. When we first were introduced to Fennec, we thought they were both going after Omega for the same reasons. But we found out that that's actually not true, that shocked me a lot.
Same. I was definitely when I saw her kill one of the Kaminoan, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, wait, she's on her own mission. What does this mean? Because I thought we were all trying to get her back to the Kaminoan, but then it ended up being that kind of in the end still. So it's kind of It's interesting.
So when all the Kaminoans are talking to Cad Bane, they kind of tell Nala, say like, hey, you have this attachment to Omega. You kind of need to you need to let it go. That's where it revealed to me like, okay, that's where I was hinted that maybe they aren't working together. And I really liked this kind of showdown we had between Fennec and Cad Bane. Like, we've seen Cad Bane go off against the Jedi. We saw him in the Deleted Seeds go after Boba, but I really liked that we combined these. I liked the way that we revealed these answers.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Fennec. Her music is just great in this. Like, I just love her theme song. And so I was really happy to see her again because the last time we saw her was like episode 3, I think.
Early
And
on,
so I was like, where is she?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you mentioned her theme. Because
Yeah.
in the episode they troll you with it. When, spoiler alert, the Bad Batch comes and saves Omega, they play part of her theme just a tad bit so that you think that she was caught again by Fennec, and then immediately you see Wrecker and it's like, oh, it's all okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, really like her theme. I agree. And I like that Cad Bane is represented by more Western style, like guitar music. It's just, I mean, I've already said it a million times. I love the music in this series. Episode is no exception. And the cloud fog simulation was really cool. There's some really cool shots in there, especially with the showdown between Fennec.
I really wanted to
Mhm.
talk about this planet that they're on because it was like they were on a version of Camino, but not actually Camino. Like when Cad Bane pulled into the planet and he's trying to get Toto to come back, he's like, I can't see a thing. When they pulled up on the platforms, I was like, oh, we're back in Camino and we happen to be here on a sunny day. And then the closer I looked at it, I was like, no, this place has been abandoned. So it kind of makes me think like, was this where the Kaminoans started out their cloning facilities? Because we really don't know how long. We've only known that the Kaminoans started cloning before the Clone Wars, but how long before that? Because this place was pretty beat up.
Right. So yeah, now I want to like bouncing off of that. I definitely want to talk about the reveal because for me, me and my dad really wanted her to be a Jedi. Like we really wanted her. So like our theory was that I forgot his name, but it was Count Dooku's friend or something like that in the prequels, and he was like also a Jedi, and we thought that she had like a trace of his blood or something like that, and so she was also going to be like a Jedi clone. But then we find out it's actually like original from Jango Fett, right? Or something like that, right? So what it's just kind of like, are they trying to continue the clones kind of situation? Like, what is that there?
From my understanding, I think it's because, they're losing profitability to the Empire because the Empire is like, oh, we don't want you anymore. So do you think they're trying to like sell out to someone else? Is that their ultimate goal? Or are they just trying to like continue off to the side? Because you never know, right? With the Kaminoans, they're very like proper, and you notice that because they conduct business on their own grounds. Even though it's not Camino, you can tell that, like Sarah was saying, this is definitely an OG cloning facility. It feels like something that they would have been cloning out years before, ancient almost. And you see the dead, well, cloned Kaminoans later, which was pretty gross, but it's still interesting because we don't know like anything about the Kaminoans prior to the Clone Wars thus far.
Yeah, we get a little hint that Sifo Dyas found them and that their planet was erased from the Jedi archives, as we saw in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. That's interesting about your theory of Omega wanting or being a Jedi, because Giovanni and I were in the opposite. We were kind of hoping that the Bad Batch would kind of stray away from the Jedi and push away from the Force. And this episode kind of teased that. It kind of teased that she could have been Force sensitive when she's looking at the control panel to let down the ray shield. But the question was answered that no, she is almost an exact copy of Jango Fett, except she's a girl. So she's closer to Jango Fett than Boba is to his own dad, which I thought was kind of wild. My theory is I think the Kaminoans are still trying to show the Empire, hey, look, the clones are going to be far more superior than your regular humans are to our clones. They are trained at birth. They have these skills. We teach them all. The people you bring on are going to be dumb. They aren't going to know a single thing.
Right,
so I
which
think they're
we've
still
seen.
Yeah.
We saw that in episode like 3 or 4 with Crosshair, where they had Mercy, which is like, that's human thing. And then Crosshair was like, hey, We need to. It's the job. Sorry.
Follow orders.
Follow orders. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because the clones are programmed from birth. Like the way some people say it, the clones are bred for war, whereas regular humans are not. So that's kind of the point that the Kaminoans are trying to push on about. But this goes into my next question of why do they need the Bad Batch still? Because at this point, if they're trying to keep the clones alive, I can understand why they're going after Omega. They made bounty hunters. But at one point, why does Crosshair need to keep going after the Bad Batch? Crosshair has no interest in Omega.
Well, it's because that they're going against the Empire. They just need to get caught. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like they need to go to jail, or like, you know what I mean? They need to have justice or something like that because they're going against the Empire. So what's his name? The guy with the name.
Tarkin?
Tarkin, yes. Tarkin's like, I don't even care anymore. Just get these guys off the map kind of thing.
But they also want to be off the map. Like they want to hide. They don't want anything to do with the war. And, you know, Tarkin and Rampart are trying to encourage recruiting for troops. So that's why I'm still confused. Like, why does he need the Bad Batch? Like, he has Crosshair. Crosshair can train these guys if he needs to. What role do the Batch have at this point?
He thinks they're a threat. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. It might be a pride thing where it's just kind of like...
Yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, that sounds right. Do you think that's why Crosshair is like trying to show them up? He's like, I'm the superior clone. They're all defective, even though they used to be my brothers.
He was told like, oh, why'd they put a clone in charge by that one dude? And then of course he was killed by Crosshair, so.
So I do want to go back to still Omega on this Jango Fett thing. So like, did the Kaminoans just keep like a vial of Jango's blood? Because he died in episode 2, right? So like, do they just have it stored somewhere for all these years?
That's a great question, maybe, because so Boba, if I remember, and this was explained right, Boba is like an unaltered clone meant to be Jango's son. So I don't think he has the same kind of aging acceleration that the other clones do.
Boba's a clone?
Yeah.
Like, I should have known that, but like, I'm still like shocked. Like,
he's a clone, but he doesn't have his age was not accelerated like the other clones were. We still really don't know a lot about how Boba came to be, which is why I'm kind of hoping that is explained in Book of Boba Fett. I really hope that's a big plot line for that story. But technically, I'm assuming that like Jango had given them samples, here's some for the generic clones. And then he maybe had a few more vials stored somewhere else. So they were like, okay, we're going to keep this for backup. We're going to do some experimentation with this, which has to be pretty recent because Omega's really young. And Omega's also not the only one. There's another clone that has the same DNA as Omega and Jango. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if we're going to go meet that clone at all.
Right.
Oh, that was Boba.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they mentioned it was Boba. Yeah, he's called Alpha originally. But it is Boba. Oh. It's just Boba and Omega are the only two left that are pure blood clones. Yeah.
Oh, see, when Tex said his name, I thought I heard Boomer. Was that what he said?
No, he said Boba. Dead. No wonder I was so confused earlier. You were talking about how like something about Boba. I'm like, wait, but Boba's also pure blood. He's the only other one, but they're not going after him because the Kaminoans, they don't know anything about Boba's whereabouts, and they're like we need to stay safe in our little house, like type deal. So they're too proper to do anything, which is why they're hiring these bounty hunters. So I highly doubt they'd want to go after Boba when they think like, oh, Omega's just some random girl. It's really easy. And then you have Nala Se, who's like, keep Omega safe, protect Omega at all costs, which ultimately is what she gets at the end of the episode.
Right. Well, that's the last time I watch an episode without subtitles.
Right.
I still would like to see Boba's story talked about more in Book of Boba Fett. Like, we've been teasing a little more on what that story and what that show could be about. I really hope it focuses a lot on the clones and where he comes from.
It's all
Cad
true.
Bane could still very well be alive in Book of Boba Fett. Like, we don't know what Cad Bane's like lifespan is. He's not human, so he could be alive by then.
Yeah.
Live action Cad Bane, that'd be pretty cool.
I've always loved the live action Star Wars. I can always get into that. Like Mandalorian was just an incredible show. So I'm excited for Book of Boba Fett. And yeah, that'd be cool if Cad Bane came in and then like Fennec is his like buddy cop kind of person or something like that. Cause like that's how it was in Mandalorian and their dynamic was really awesome. So I'm excited for that. When is that supposed to come out?
December.
Ooh.
So
yes.
close. So we'll have to bring you on as a guest star for that as well.
Yes, because I can definitely get into Mandalorian a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
Or that show.
Something else I wanted to talk about is I'm kind of surprised that Omega was gone for only one episode. I kind of thought that she was going to be missing for like at least 2 or 3, but instead she's reunited with the batch by the end of it, which, oh my God, the reunion with her and Hunter. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a cute moment where she was like, Hunter, I need you. And I was like, oh, okay, Omega. We see that was cute. Like, yeah. But you know, that's like the little like problem that I have with the show is that things, even though the show is 16 episodes, things move too fast. Like, especially with the episode where Wrecker went bad. He went bad for like maybe like 5 to 8 minutes. And then he was like, okay, I'm back. And I'm like, well, it would have been a really good episode if you just kind of had him bad the entire time. And then you go into the next episode and then you bring him back kind of thing. But they're doing things like really fast. So it's interesting what the second half of this season's gonna be, you know?
Yeah, I actually agree. And I felt the same way about this episode. It kind of lowers the stakes because you kind of expect the characters to survive. And so I was fully expecting Omega to be stuck for like an episode or two, and instead she's out in one. And I was like, oh, then it was just a pit stop then. Because now the
Right.
match is once again on the run. So it's like all they needed to do was rescue Omega, and she did all the rescuing herself. Well, with a little bit of Fennec along the way. But yeah, it does feel like there are some episodes where things just happen really, really quickly, and you're like, oh. That's why last episode I think was such a breath of fresh air because they had already stayed on Braca, so they didn't need to go anywhere. So it transitioned from the Wrecker episode to last episode perfectly, and you have the entire episode to have Crosshair and all this craziness, and at the end, Cad Bane shows up. But now that he's gone, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's that for the bounty hunters, unless they're still salty and they want they want to come after the Bad Batch. But yeah, I fully agree. I think the pacing is pretty fast, which like I've compared it to The Last Airbender before, and that show does have that sometimes, but there are other times where they would slow down a lot, and I feel like this second half should be doing that, but we can't know for sure. So
They definitely set up the fact that Omega could be gone a lot in this episode, because when she got to that escape pod and it was starting to fail, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a perfect way to set up that they could be disconnected. Like when the pod was rescued, I was kind of expecting, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting Hondo to pick her up or like one of the pirates to pick her up and then her to go on this whole other little mission. Aalayah, I don't think you know who Hondo is.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He is a very notorious pirate who shows up and he's just a jokester. Like he is there for comic relief, but he shows up in Star Wars Rebels. I was kind of hoping that he would be the one to get Omega for a little cameo, but no, it ended up being, the Bad Batch, which I'm not mad at, but I would have loved to see like how long it took them to find each other. I thought that would have been a good way to take the story.
And yeah, like going on with like the whole it's too fast. I've had a problem with this season. My dad's kind of a little bit done with Bad Batch, but we're still watching it. And like I feel like we've had so many filler episodes, and I've only had out of the 9, I think for me, I've only liked, I guess I like this one. So 3 episodes. I liked the last one, this one, and then the one with Crosshair in the beginning of the season, or like, and I feel like the rest of it has been like, here's a pit stop, here we go, and then we're leaving, this was nice, and here we go. And I'm like, so where are we going? And so yeah, this episode like pushed us forward a little bit, but I feel like this is the only episode that has pushed us forward. And that's just for me. I know like for y'all, you probably have seen more stuff because you know Star Wars a lot more. But for someone that has an outside perspective, I'm like, this is the only thing I picked up, you know?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
what do you think?
I do feel the same way, even as a fan, but the little tidbits and fun things are what make it kind of more entertaining. At the same time, though, I do feel wary at times that the show can get a little bit fillery. And like I said in the past, I do think that that takes a lot from like Last Airbender. It really does feel like that, like because I didn't get into that show until very very late. Like a lot of people were into it as kids, and so you don't really notice that stuff. But me, all these years later, and I watched it, I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. But there are a lot of episodes like that where it's just like, here's a pit stop, here's a bunch of jokes, here's like some like fun mini action scene, but it doesn't feel like substantial to the rest of the plot. There's just like little details. And I felt the same way about Bad Batch. So that's why I'm like, I feel like the payoffs in this show are going to be better than some of the pit stops along the way. And also I really do enjoy the animation and the voice work and a lot of the actual technical stuff. But yeah, no, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Like even some other Star Wars fans I know were getting weary of the show until the last two episodes, and then they were like, "Oh, this is awesome!" So yeah, definitely is not like as easy to get into, I think, as maybe say the Clone Wars. The
Yeah.
Clone
Right.
Wars is probably much easier to get into, and even that one has some like fillery episodes.
I think I've been so like lenient to the show because it's such a nostalgia trip for me. Like I love that we're back in Clone Wars. I love that we're back in the animation, and I just love that it's exclusively about the clones. So I think I've been kind of oh my god, again. I think I've been kind of lenient toward the kind of fillery episodes because yeah, I'm rewatching episodes with my sister, and we were on episode 4, and I was kind of like, well, not a lot really happens in this episode, but it's cute. So I think I just love that I'm getting extra content. But yeah, I definitely agree that some of the fillery episodes are probably a remnant of Clone Wars, because there were times in Clone Wars arcs that they would extend for 4 episodes, and it was kind of like, okay, do we really need 4 episodes for this arc? Some definitely yes, others absolutely not. So yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I know I feel the same way too, but I'm also like just praising the Lord that we have more Clone Wars animated stuff.
Yeah, when with
Right
Geo,
there with you.
I also got into Last Airbender late in the game. And yeah, season 1 was definitely just, I feel like all of season 1 was just filler. And then season 2 and 3
Yeah.
were like really good. Like it's just it
Season
really
2.
does pick up in like those later seasons. So I'm really hoping in this later half we do get more of it. And I'm so used to Marvel because with Marvel, every episode it means something. Like if you skip an episode, you have missed so much information. So that's why when I watch Star Wars, I'm like, okay, I could skip an episode if I wanted to, but like I still like, it's always like with Star Wars, it's like it's a fun time because I know it's Y7 instead of TV 14, like with Marvel. So it's
Yeah.
like it's really targeted to kids in a way more than adults, even though it's really adults watching it. Like, come on, like, So that's how it is for me, if that makes sense.
That's fair. That makes sense. Yeah.
There's that Andor show coming out that they're saying is going to be like 12-hour-long episodes. I hope probably like 40 minutes or half an hour, knowing Disney Plus. But that's supposedly what they're aiming for because they want it to be more spy thriller, kind of like Star Wars Jack Ryan, I guess. So hopefully they go longer because I have been feeling trolled by Marvel as well with their let's do a middle episode that's pure filler in every season so far of their shows. So please, no more of that.
12-hour long episodes of my boy Diego Luna. Yes, please.
What's Andor?
So
It's-
Andor.
Yeah, you go ahead. You know.
From what Disney Investor Day told us, Andor is basically going to be a prequel to Rogue One that follows Cassian Andor up until Rogue One. So it's a prequel series, and they've released so many leak photos and pictures of Diego Luna in his cast outfits that I'm just like, I'm here for this. I loved Rogue One.
Me
I
too.
just saw
I
it.
loved Rogue One. And I feel like a lot of people are like, hey, it was okay. And I'm like, what do you mean? It was very good.
What do you
Like,
mean? I
Yeah.
was sobbing at the end.
Yeah.
Because I went in like, okay, it's just a side story, but I kind of had high hopes because the side stories sometimes are amazing, and this one did not disappoint.
Mhm.
So when I found out that we're getting a prequel to Rogue One, I'm just like, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It was definitely just a really good what it's called movie. And I feel like it was better than Solo. I only watched Solo once, so like I don't know.
So we are now officially in the second half of the season, and we don't know if there's going to be more seasons. So I think if we knew there were going to be more seasons, maybe it would explain why there are some fillery episodes and maybe help us predict what the end of the season could be. But I mean, in truth, we have no idea what's going to happen with this show.
Yeah, I for my predictions for the second half, this last like 8 episodes or 7 episodes, something like that. The Kaminoans are gonna get Omega, let's say that, and then they're gonna start experimenting on her. I feel like there's just gonna be a bunch of I can't really predict honestly. Like I think that there's gonna be a bunch more stops, and then the Kaminoans are gonna get her, and then the Bad Batch are gonna have to save her. End of season. Like I feel like I don't know what else to say. You know?
I would like to say that I think I do think that the Kaminoans are going to get her, like you're saying. I do agree. And I kind of feel like that at some point Omega and the Bad Batch are going to have to separate or something like that, because only because of what the Kiner brothers said on Twitter about how the finale was supposed to be really sad and how they were really sad writing the music for it. I'm like, I don't think it has to do with character death. Like, I think it has more to do with Omega being separated from the rest of the crew. Whether it be with the Kaminoans or not, we don't know. But I do think that might end up happening, or Hunter dies, or you never know. But it's all up to the finale for that to happen. Otherwise, for the rest of this, I do foresee maybe them reuniting with Sid and getting some more jobs. Who knows if Rex will come back? Oh, did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I definitely see them doing a few more jobs, and then eventually the Kaminoans or Crosshair or whoever will catch up with them. Because we haven't seen Tarkin or Rampart in a while, so.
No, we haven't. I forgot about that. See, I think still part of the main objective, aside from keep Omega safe, which has now become a main objective too, is to get back Crosshair. Like, I know Crosshair is gunning for them. He's still going after them for reasons that, like we guessed, probably just pride. Um, but they still need to get back Crosshair. They still need to take out his inhibitor chip. So I wonder if, like, the way I see it is the Kaminoans will be like, we'll give you back Crosshair, but you got to give us Omega. Like, they're going to have to decide, like, okay, do we give them this girl, or do we, can we finally get back our brother? Or are we going to say, no, Crosshair, you shot all of us at least once. You're on your own, my dude.
Yeah, and then they're gonna figure out a way to get both. Like, yeah, they're gonna figure
Yeah.
out a way to be like, we got them both, guys. And I don't know, but my dad thinks that Wrecker is gonna end up gonna end up getting killed, because everyone loves Wrecker so much. So I feel like that's a
Yeah.
good way to like get everyone to cry and stuff like that. Is
Pain.
for Wrecker
Pain.
to, yeah.
The writers are coming after my tears. They're like, we want to make Sarah cry. This is how we're
Right.
going to do it.
Choose between Crosshair and Omega, and then Wrecker sacrifices himself to get them both out of there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I know is if the Kiner brothers are saying they cried while writing the music, I will probably cry watching the episode, because the Kiner brothers music is truly what makes me emotional with this series. Like the episode where they took out Wrecker's chip and Omega still had the Mantel mix in her pocket. Like, I was sobbing during that scene. I was like, the story came full circle. Stop. The music in the back it had a very childlike and a minor key sound. And I was just like, nope, this is it. I'm out.
Yeah.
So something I noticed this episode, I mean, this has been apparent since season 7 of the Clone Wars. I think they're heavily inspired by Vangelis' score for Blade Runner. Specifically in this episode, there's a scene where Omega, when she's looking at the tanks and like all confused, they play Omega's theme in a very soft synth piano, but with some like synth heavy chords in the background, and it reminded me a ton of the Blade Runner main theme. And a lot of the tracks at the end of season 7 of Clone Wars felt the exact same way. So I'm like, dang, like pulling out all the emotional stops for this show. Plus, I'm not really a fan of Evangelist, so I like kind of.
Well, I'm happy you brought that up because I love scores. I love movie scores because that is so important in like TV and movies. It's like it's so important in for your emotion, you know? And like bringing them back,
Yes.
motifs, all that stuff, like it's so important. So I love that you brought it up. Yes. I haven't seen Blade Runner though.
Giovanni is the Boardwalk Times music guy in every podcast he's on. He always has to bring up the music. He actually has a podcast coming out about it. So quick plug there.
Yes. I love that.
But yes, overall, I liked this episode. There was a lot of me going like, what's happening? Like there were so many twists. I really liked how we kind of got to see like what the Kaminoan facilities looked like when they first started out, even though when the tank got knocked over and that cloned Kaminoan came out, I was like, oh, okay. But I really liked this episode. I'm really excited to see where they take this because like all my predictions that I had at the beginning of the show have like either not happened or just been blown out of the water where it's like, oh, we're just going from 0 to 100. Okay.
I think Boba's no longer going to be saying, Tonoi's here. Tonoi's dead. So I definitely think that's one of the best twists in the episode with Tonoi.
I agree.
For me, I think my expectations have been underwhelmed. I think that sometimes for me, I get too excited and what are the words? I like over predict. Like I wanted her to be a Jedi. I wanted her to be on the dark side. I wanted like all this stuff. I wanted it to be big and like stuff like that. But it's definitely like a grounded show. And so me and my dad definitely had the predictions of like, yeah, there's gonna be like the pit stop kind of thing, and like the Bad Batch having to save Omega because she's like the kid and like she gets herself into trouble. So here we go, you know? So I definitely had that prediction. Going, and I don't know. I know that with Dave Filoni, he's usually really good with season finales. I know that he, especially with season 7, those last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars that like lead right into episode 3 were really good. So I know that with Bad Batch, those like the last episodes are going to be peak.
Like I said, I will probably be sobbing at the end of this season. Clone Wars has a way of making me emotional, but again, I think it's just because I grew up watching, Giovanni and I both grew up watching it when they would come out at night on Cartoon Networks on Fridays. So I think, like I said, I think the reason I'm just like so into it is because it's a nostalgia trip. It's like one last ride on Friday nights, or in our case, Friday mornings, because now things are going to start coming out on Wednesdays. And it's just,
what do you mean?
So Disney Plus announced last week that now all of the shows are going to be released on Wednesdays instead of Fridays.
What? No. Okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's
It's
Loki's
dumb.
day. First of all, that is Loki's day, and everyone else gets Friday. What is this?
Yeah,
it's
they
dumb.
changed it.
They changed it. Only movies are coming out on Fridays now. TV shows are all relegated to Wednesdays, and I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, that is so dumb.
So Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian season 3, those are all going to be Wednesdays now. I'm like, okay, I guess Thursday and Friday,
Hopefully,
wherever I am in the few years, that's going to be dedicated to me just not doing any work and constantly thinking about the next week. So
it's like, no, ew, like, no. I hope enough people push back because I already saw the negative reactions, which I was definitely a part of. I was like, but Fridays are like the fun. You're
Right.
trolling us.
And the thing is too, like, especially since we're doing this podcast right now, I can't do DNAs on Wednesdays. And it's like after 2 days, especially with Loki, like we have to get it as soon as Friday, even though it's already been out for 2 days. People are already getting their theories. A lot of people that don't have like day jobs are already getting their videos out. And I'm like, just hold on, like, wait, we're trying to get it out as well. So it's like, if every show comes out on Wednesday, it's just, that's annoying.
yeah, our other podcast, Living Low-Key, they talked about this when the news broke. They were just like, and all these creators, all these podcasts and videographers, they're now kind of screwed because they either have to wait till Friday or they kind of have to rearrange their schedule. And most of us have day jobs and school and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see if Disney really keeps it this way, or if they say, okay, maybe just these shows will come out Wednesday and we'll keep the big name ones on Friday.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast, Aalayah. This was so exciting, and I'm so glad we got to have you on.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. We definitely have to do it again because I love theorizing and talking about, I just love talking about movies and TV shows. So I can talk about this stuff for ages. So definitely we have to do this again.
So if you want to keep following up with Aalayah, which I totally recommend you do, how can our fans get in touch with you, or how can they find your stuff?
So I'm on YouTube, put Woodley in on YouTube and on Instagram. That's just look up that name and you'll find us, DNA. And I also do K-pop videos, and I also do like Men in the Media, which is like a drama channel, stuff like that. So you have 3 things to choose from. Yes.
We will put all of that in our episode description so that you can have that info. But for now, thanks for listening to another episode of This is the Waycast, the Bad Batch edition. For more Star Wars content, head over to boardwalktimes.net and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Boardwalk Times. Retvenji, Shinies!